So we're supposed to worry about success in the academic game, and success is displayed all over the place. The number of publications that you have, the number of citations that you have is displayed, and every time that you see somebody's name in the academic game, and often, very often, you see somebody saying, I reached these number of citations, I've reached these number of publications, and they kind of broadcast it. And I have to admit, sometimes I get persuaded to do the same thing. And I feel, whenever I do that, I feel icky. I don't feel good about who I am. And I don't feel good about the other people that are doing the same thing. In fact, I often hide when people do that, or I roll my eyes, or I think, what are we doing here? This is a privilege, and yet we feel insecure that we have to tell other people how well we're actually doing. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is we're thinking that we're not worthy enough, and we have to tell other people that we're somehow worthy. And other people are supposed to be persuaded in some sort of way that this actually matters. And perhaps, maybe it does matter. Maybe that is the thing, how we should be measuring ourselves. But I think about, wait a minute, we get the privilege to sit here and talk about things and understand things. And there's billions of people in this world that don't have access to clean water. There's billions of people that live in poverty. And there's billions of people that will never even see the inside of a university. And I think about all of this, and I think about how strange of a world this actually is, that we worry about what other people are going to think of us in such a narrow way. I mean, ultimately, the only thing that we should be concerned about is just doing good science, and that's it. And I think all of us are driven to make these displays, and we fascinate and we talk about how successful we are. Ultimately, none of that matters. It's not going to make any difference when you are 80 years old. You're probably going to be with the closest people that you know at that point, and nobody else is going to be listening to you and paying attention to you other than those people that are very close to you. And I think about that all the time. Why do we walk around making these displays? And then for myself, I often feel very insecure because ultimately I always feel like I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. I don't live up to what the standards are. Whatever those standards are, I can never get there. I can't achieve. And no matter how much I try, no matter how hard I try to impress and show other people that I am somehow quote unquote important, there's always somebody else that's there doing the same thing, doing it better than I am. And I always feel left out. I always feel like I'm not good enough. I feel all of these emotions. And I come back to the thought of, what are we doing? Why do we actually do these things? And when I come back to that, all of those indicators that many of us focus on or determine, I don't know, like people think that it somehow means something. And ultimately it doesn't. Ultimately, I'm just playing around with ideas. Ultimately, I'm just doing my thing. Ultimately, I'm trying to make other people smile or feel better about themselves, or prevent an atrocity from happening. Ultimately, it's all these little things, or maybe some big things that matter. It has nothing to do with your citations has nothing to do with the number of papers that you have published. It has everything to do with you just being okay with who you are and saying, I'm good enough. I don't need to make those displays. I don't need to tell other people. And I realize that sometimes you have to do those for various different roles that you are put into. But other than that, why? The world has it far worse. Almost all of the world has it far worse than you do. And yet, we're focused on these petty little things that ultimately have no impact on who you are as a person. What matters is the fact that you're a good person. What matters is that you enjoy getting up. What matters is that you can smile and be okay with yourself. And I think about, okay, my job is tied to it, all these metrics. And if I don't do a good enough job, somebody's going to fire me. Okay, what's the worst that's going to happen? I live my life the same way that I'm doing, and I probably actually get paid more by doing it because I'm forced to look elsewhere. I want you to think that we're good. We're rock solid inside. We are stable. And I think if I think about that enough, and if I connect with you, maybe I can make a little change in the scientific effort. Go be rock solid. Go smile. Quit playing those games. And just be happy with who you are.